In such a short time, Yorkville has been able to create a sort of brand image amongst students.
We get amazing talents from around the globe that we make our tuition extremely affordable.
I think there's some 40 million Canadians, and then 10 million in the GTA region, and then 10 million in Vancouver region, and then rest are sort of spread across this, which is what, second biggest country on the planet.
Here in India, traffic is very lively, I will put it. Whereas in Canada, we generally don't honk as much. We all know somebody in India will always want to be the next superstar.
I don't want to sound racist, but...
Welcome to On Spotlight, a podcast series where we shed some light on your foreign education queries. Hi, I'm David Jao, Director at Jao Consultants. Over the years, we've been privileged to walk alongside students as they navigate their study abroad journey, facing questions, excitement, and sometimes uncertainty. That's why we're launching On Spotlight, a podcast where we'll talk with universities, industry experts, and inspiring alumni who are going to share their stories and advices that can help you make informed choices about your future.
So we have Mr. David Jao. He's the Director for International Recruitment at Yorkville University, Canada. And I think you guys are probably the youngest university we have on this podcast. So we've done a couple of these. Well, I'm still new to this, but okay. So the objective of this podcast is we try and answer all the questions students may have about studying in Canada, studying at Yorkville, and what programs they should be taking. So I think before we get into the nitty-gritties of Yorkville as an institute, I think it makes more sense to answer more primary questions. Should you be studying in Canada in 2025? And we want to try to keep it more focused with Indian students. And then we can also try and cater to international students as a whole. I was in Toronto last year. And so it was probably one of the more memorable business trips we've done. And so Toronto in general, I think, has an indistinguishable vibe. I believe you're from Toronto?
Yes, I am.
So, yes. So I've been to like 14, 15, not too many countries, but Toronto has a different set of vibe. And so I think you guys have two campuses. One is in the GTA region, and then one is in Vancouver.
Correct.
So we'll try and talk about both. So because we want to start by talking about Canada before we get into talking about Yorkville. So I wanted to go through some stats. I wanted to go through how the trends of international students have been changing. So I believe, I have this written down so it'll be easy to read it out. But so I believe in the year 2000, there were like some 120,000 international students. 2010 to 25, and then 2019 was 640,000 students. And then next year was COVID, so 2020 the number of students went down. So this is number of students that are in Canada or study permit holders in the year, in the financial year. Sorry, in the calendar year, not the financial year. I think you guys follow financial year, that's Jan to December.
Yeah, so a calendar year, I believe that you're talking about.
Correct. So, and then Canada introduced a cap on the number of students in 2024. And I think the current cap is some 437,000 students. And assuming that the number of students in Canada year on year is going to stay the same. Let's say if students stay in Canada for 2.5 years, 3 years on an average, I think that number is restricted to about 1 million students. Is that?
Approximately.
Okay, so that was the number that Canada had in 2023. So with the cap, the number would likely stay stagnant and, not fluctuating too much. So first question I have with this context or with this preface is, why do you think so many students, because over the past 2 decades, the number of students have been going up exponentially in Canada. So why do you think students have been opting for Canada? And how do you think Canada compares to other popular study abroad destinations?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, my name is David. I am the Director of International Student Recruitment at Yorkville. Talking about Canada, I'm going to be a little biased because I am Canadian. Canada is a great destination, right? We have great quality education, which is recognized worldwide.
True.
We have a great and relatively safe lifestyle when compared with the other major study destinations.
Correct.
We have a great and free healthcare system. And from a politically perspective, we're fairly stable, right? Canada was built and is still built on multiculturalism. So from that perspective, international students are always going to be welcome, and they're going to have a different perspective when they have lived, studied, and worked in Canada, just because they can interact with people from across the globe. So for me personally, definitely number one destination around the globe.
So if I'm not wrong, I think 1 in 5 people in Canada is somebody who's not Canadian or somebody who's an international from international.
If not more, right? I think besides the indigenous people from Canada, everyone is an immigrant.
Okay, so then coming to my second question, which is with these trends and then the government introducing the cap. So a lot of conversations I've had with Canadian students or students studying in Canada, international students, and then Canadian institutes, what I've often come to hear is that this cap will help improve, I don't want to use the word quality of students, but let's say get more studious students to come to Canada. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think it has proved to be true over the last 2 years?
I think we had a lot of policy changes last year, right? And sometimes when you look at all these policy changes, it's similar to a stock market. There's something new every day.
True.
Right? But at the core of all these changes, I think is for the betterment of not only Canada, but also international students from a long-term perspective. When you are looking at restricting postgraduate work permit for certain sectors, right, as well as you're pushing more towards bachelor degrees, we are looking at, as you said, more quality students. Because we understand that not only do we have a labor shortage, we have a labor shortage in every field. We want to make sure that we attract the right people to fill these positions in every field, not just certain fields.
True.
As you know, Canada is a huge country.
True.
We have the population of Punjab, right? And the population we have right now is an aging population, right? So in order for us to maintain and grow, not only do we need international students, we need skilled immigrants as well, right? But particularly international students, we want to make sure we're setting them up for future success, right? Not just immediate success.
So we'll go a little off track because, we've sort of gotten already off track. And we'll not talk too much about that. I want to share my views on the policies with whatever little information I have or little knowledge I have. I'd like to think, so there's a lot of hate coming from the Canadians towards the current government. And then I like to think the immigration policy that was introduced a couple of years ago that was trying to get more people in was a right choice. However, it may not have been executed rightly. What are your thoughts on that? So we know for a fact Canada has like so abundance of resources. It's a massive country with, like you rightly said, population of Punjab. So what are your thoughts on first change, which is getting more people, and then now reducing the number of immigrants?
I think getting more people as a country who, like we said, the population of Punjab is always going to be key, right? As you mentioned, the execution of certain policies, when you look back at it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, you can critique it, right? Because the rear view mirror is always going to be very clear.
True.
Right? But I think at the time, the government will always do what they think is right for the people.
True.
And for the country.
True.
Right? Have we hit bumps on the road? Absolutely. Right? Nobody's perfect. No country's perfect. But as Canadians, as you know, we're very much welcoming, and we are extremely polite.
I know that, and that is one thing that is so for somebody who's been to the States or for somebody who's been to the UK, and then you come to Canada, and then you can immediately tell the difference in the way people talk to you.
So because we all come from a diverse background culturally and from a lifestyle, right? We do welcome everyone. But I think at any time when you have an explosion of population, there will be
Setbacks.
hiccups, right? And I think we're trying to work out those hiccups for the people coming in and for the people who are already here.
And how do you think? I think you guys have elections next month. How do you?
Yesterday.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so the elections were yesterday. How do you think the new government, assuming it's not the Trudeau government, how do you think new government will sort of impact? Let's stick to students. How do you think the new government will impact overall student experience for internationals?
Absolutely. So I think it depends on the viewpoint, right? As our Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stepped down, right? Our new Prime Minister is still the Liberal Party. So our new Prime Minister, he was the head of Bank of UK.
Okay.
He was head of Bank of Canada.
Okay.
So at heart, he is an economist, right? Our hopes, and I think for all Canadians, is that from an international education perspective, everyone understands how important the industry is and the sector is.
True.
Right? For the economy, for the students, and for Canadians.
True.
And as an economist, as our new Prime Minister coming in, I believe he understands the importance of creating a stable environment from an approval rate point of view, from a study destination point of view. The Canada brand itself on an international stage has definitely taken a hit, right? And it's up to people like us and you, right, to help rebuild that image.
Correct.
And for me, I'm super excited and hopeful, I think is the word, about what's to come for the new government and what we can do to start rebuilding that image and to continue to show that Canada is the right place for students.
Okay, because if we talk about the geopolitics, it might be too long of a podcast, and I think you have a meeting scheduled right after. All right, so another thing we do on these podcasts is we talk about stereotypes of the country that the institute we have is from. So with Singapore, we had some institute from Singapore, and we were talking about how they're just good with math, and then there's no trash in Singapore. And then with the French school, we were talking about how they have this indistinguishable sense of fashion, or rather, distinguishable sense of fashion. So, so with Canadians, I think one stereotype that we already talked about is how everybody's just so nice. And so that's one thing that I know for a fact is everybody is apologetic, everybody uses a lot of gratitude when they are conversing. Second is, so what we want to try and do is if you can tell if you actually relate with these stereotypes, if you think these are true, and then maybe if you can add on some stereotypes for people watching. Second is harsh winters.
Yeah.
So everything is covered in snow. That's what people assume. And apart from these southern cities, I think that is true throughout Canada.
Yeah, in some ways, of course.
And then third is something I was reading. I've not seen this for myself. Is Canadians put maple syrup on everything.
Yes. So I'll address those three. So number one, we are extremely nice. And I think it comes from the fact that we're all immigrants to this land. And we are grateful for the land, for the opportunity that it provides. So if you are an international student coming to Canada, I think the most important thing is for the student not to be shy, right? If you are willing to ask for help, I believe everyone is willing to help you.
True. So sorry, I'll cut you off here. So there's a story experience. So my experience with being in Canada, and then we were on a business trip. We were visiting institutes in the GTA region, and then we went to NAFSA, New Orleans. You can immediately tell the cultural difference when you fly from Toronto to New Orleans, because everybody is so polite in Canada. Everyone from somebody at the restaurant to somebody at the bar, the cab driver, everybody's polite. And then you move to States and you find I don't want to sound racist, but you find the rude people at the airport. So that's what I think. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And I think Canadians, there's a reason why people think Canadians are super friendly, right? And it's a fact. So I'm extremely proud of it. And that if you do have the opportunity, right? If our audience have the opportunity to come to Canada, they will definitely experience it firsthand.
True.
In terms of winter, so yes, we are in the northern part of the hemisphere. So we definitely do have winter, but we also have other seasons as well.
True.
Of course, a bit shorter than our winters, but we have our spring, we have a summer, fall, and of course, winter. However, our winters, I don't have penguins for pets. I don't live in an igloo, right? I don't ski to my work every day. So there are definitely things that we can do in the winter. And as Canadians or as international students who have had their first winter, had the first experience, that they will be used to, and they come to understand and enjoy winter as a season.
And so, so I went there in the summer, I think in the month of May, but you can immediately tell there's a lot of infra that a lot of institutes have, or the city in general has, to help the population during the winter. And I'm assuming you can only appreciate it when you actually there in the winter. But yes, that makes sense. And what about maple syrup? Is that
So maple syrup is like a staple for us.
Yes.
So for Canadians, we love our maple syrup. We put it on pancakes, waffles, bacon, right? So I think it really just a personal preference. And for me, maple syrup is some sort of a replacement for honey, or honey is a replacement for maple syrup. So it definitely goes hand in hand.
Okay, so now let's get into Yorkville University. Let's start talking about Yorkville. So like we already started by stating, Yorkville is some 21 years old. So even younger than us, by the way. We're like 22 now. So we started in 2002, and I think Yorkville started in 2004.
We were an institution before then, but we
Okay.
became a university.
Oh wow! So you guys turned into uni in
Correct.
2004.
Correct.
Okay. And so what I find fascinating is in such a short time, Yorkville has been able to create a sort of brand image amongst students and attracting so many students. And you guys have 2 or 3 campuses?
2 campuses for international students, one in Vancouver and one in Toronto.
So what do you think went behind attracting so many students into your uni in such a short time frame?
Yeah, so I think number one is quality, right? As an institution in Canada, we play by the same rules as the government. So it's of course government regulated. So all of our programs are government regulated, and all of our degrees are accredited, which means they can use it across the globe once they graduate. We also believe that education is a right, that we make our tuition extremely affordable for students across the globe, right? Within Canada and outside of Canada. We understand that being an affordable tuition doesn't mean that our students are less sharp. On the contrary, we get amazing talents from around the globe, and we are able to offer them the world-class education that Canada offers at a price that's affordable to our students. That way, not only are we able to offer the education to as many people around the globe as possible, but in the meantime, we're also making them ambassadors of Canada, which they can either stay, or if they choose that Canada is not their final destination, they can be our ambassadors to the next destination.
So something we do on this podcast is we talk about the core values of the institute. So when, let's say Yorkville started 21 years ago, what were the core values and how do you think they have changed over these 21 years? So usually we have an institute which is 100 years old, which is a century old, and they would have started with very different mentality and they would have evolved multifold over the whatever number of years. So question number one, how do you think Yorkville has evolved in these 20 odd years? And so what I also want to understand is, do you think that because Yorkville started so recently, it has had the advantage of sort of a new age thinking compared to a lot of older institutes?
I think, like you mentioned, right? So the older institutions, they have the history, they have the reputation. For us, our key drivers, what makes me come to work every day, is about finding students around the globe who are interested in having that quality education, which we provide. We are always on the lookout for more programs that are suited for our students and suited for the industry and suited for Canada, right? Our faculty are in demand in the industry. They're working in the industry that they're teaching, which then they are passing on their education and knowledge to our students. And we're doing it in a very affordable way, right? We're able to have this opportunity and give this opportunity to as many international students as well as domestic students so that they can pursue their dream and be successful no matter where they go.
Oh, wow. So my understanding of Canada's population map is that I think there's some 40 million Canadians, and then 10 million in the GTA region, and then 10 million in Vancouver region, and then rest are sort of spread across this, which is what second biggest country on the planet. So I think the two biggest cities would be so GTA and then Vancouver, and then you guys have campuses on both of these prime locations.
Correct.
So my question is, what are the campuses like for both Vancouver and Toronto? And how do you think they compare to other institutes in these regions?
Yeah, so I mean, our institution is located, as you mentioned, in the Greater Toronto area and also the Greater Vancouver area. Our approach to our curriculum is that it is more flexible, that the students can pick how many days they want to be on campus as long as they can fit all their classes in there. So we have a lot of traffic coming in and out of our campus. We also have situated our campus near public transportation. So whether it's a subway or a bus stop, so it makes it easier for our students to come and go. We also have online courses, we have hybrid courses, and we also not only target students who just finished high school, right? So we also have mature students or students who are coming back into the workforce who want to upgrade themselves academically.
Okay, so what are the campuses like, and what is a life for the student at the campus like? If you can, run us through the amenities or facilities at the campus.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have student support for all of our students. We have academic support to help them choose courses, things like student finance, career advisors. We also have immigration advisors on campus, which is key for our international students. So if they ever have study permit issues, they want to talk about work permit or potential PR. So we have somebody in-house to support our students. We are also the largest private institution in Canada, right? We offer different and very unique in-demand programs for industries such as interior design, project management, supply chain management, creative arts, right? And we are always, as I mentioned earlier, on the lookout for new programs that are industry specific.
Oh, wow. But what about, sports opportunities at campus? And if you can talk about if you have some labs, if you have some research centers, libraries?
Yeah, so absolutely. So we have our libraries. So we have sport clubs that our students have organized, right? So we have badminton, soccer, cricket, basketball. So there are definitely opportunities for the students not to only stay active, but engaged with other classmates, make friends, and be social as well.
So how far is the Yorkville campus in Toronto from downtown?
So downtown to Toronto, without traffic, I would say approximately 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
With traffic, depending on the day.
So back when I was there, I think there was one massive highway, and I think that's the one highway that sort of connects everything.
Correct.
And that was under construction, and that is the thing that's causing traffic.
So that is what we call our Highway 401, which is the biggest highway, right? It's always under construction, so we're always trying to expand it. So I would say downtown Toronto, because it is the biggest metropolitan city in Canada, you're always going to find some traffic during the day, So I would say from downtown to our campus, 35, 40 minutes or so, depending on your method of transportation.
So, but I'd like to beg to differ. So my experience in Toronto was, so when we landed, we got an apartment next to the CN Tower. We were like on the 47th floor, and it was fairly quiet. There's not a lot of traffic noise that you would otherwise hear if you hear in India. So relatively quieter, relatively cleaner is because in that's really pretty region. You have like you have the shore, I think, which is the Michigan Lake,
Yeah.
and then you have the CN Tower, and then I think there's some aquarium, and then so we explore that region.
So I think one of the key points is sound, as you mentioned, right? Here in India, traffic is very lively, I will put it. Whereas in Canada, we generally don't honk as much. So I think from that perspective, people who come from India will find it quite different for the first couple weeks, trying to adjust to the quiet and the peacefulness in Canada.
So another thing we witnessed is there's some national holiday where everybody's parked their bikes on the road, and then there's some pedal carts, and then everybody's having beer. I don't know, is that something?
I think we have our bike lanes for bicycles, right?
No. So there's some festival that happens once a year where there's some, I don't know the term, the pedal carts? No? Everybody's drinking beer? Is that?
Everyone drinks beer every day. we have long weekends pretty much every month.
Okay.
Which is a great thing, right? So you're able to spend more time with friends and family. And yeah, I mean, especially during the summertime, right? We want to go out. We want to have a good time with friends and family. Just enjoy and have a couple beer. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well. Okay, so now let's get into what I'd like to call the creme de la creme, or the programs offered at Yorkville.
Absolutely.
So if you could sort of run us through what are the domains and what are the programs that you guys have, and then I'll have follow-up questions for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a great business program with 5 different disciplines. So we have our regular BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration. We have it in specialization in accounting, project management, supply chain management, and energy management. We have a great program in Bachelor of Interior Design, as well as a great program in Creative Arts.
Oh, well. So let's say if I am a student, let's say 18, 19, and maybe I want to have my business venture in the future. And so how would you guide me, or what would you advise? How should I go about building my roadmap? Getting into Yorkville, excelling with my academics at Yorkville, and then using this learning when I actually start doing business.
Absolutely. So at Yorkville, we're not a believer of a hard sell. We truly believe about understanding our students and understanding what their future might look like. So if a student comes and talks about business, we would definitely ask more questions about what their hopes and dreams might be and what their future potentially might look at. In terms of the programs we offer, our accounting program, our project management program, our supply chain management program, they're all accredited, right? So there are definitely advantages to those programs, right? When we're talking about project management, for example, it is multidisciplinary, right? You can work in healthcare, you can work in government, private sector, essentially any industry that has a project. Most likely they will need a project manager, right? When we talk about supply chain management, Vancouver and Halifax are 2 huge port cities, right? And we are a natural resource rich country. So you're definitely going to need supply chain management, and same thing for energy management, right? Whether it's renewable energy or natural resources. And of course, accounting, right? Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to need somebody to do your taxes.
True.
Right? So there are multiple options and multiple methods to achieve what the student's looking for, and we're here to guide them to make that right decision.
So if you could name the top 3 most popular programs amongst international students, maybe starting from number 3, so in an ascending order.
Yeah. So India, for example, I would say number 3 could be our creative arts.
Okay.
Right? We all know how big Bollywood is in India as well as globally. So our creative arts program allows the students to pursue their dreams, whether it's in filmmaking, for example, film production, whether it's acting, scriptwriting, animation, video game design. So those are definitely areas that the students can learn, as well as excel in when they come to creative arts. We all know somebody in India will always want to be the next superstar, right? So we're always going to have students who are interested in this field. Our next one I would definitely say is our project management, not only because it's an accredited program, because it's a highly in-demand industry as well. Over 600,000 jobs in Canada and US alone. And with us trying to increase our economy, we're going to be building projects, we're going to be building residents, hospitals, restaurants, and we're going to have a lot of more projects up and coming as well. So they're going to need project managers.
True.
Our number one and my favorite program to talk about is actually our interior design program. It's actually
Really?
the best interior design program in Canada, I would say. Of course,
wow.
I'm biased. But it's extremely affordable. It is extremely flexible. Students have fast track options. And it's very much an in-demand program in the sense that the industry and the economy is growing in Canada. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be building hospitals, restaurants, retail, residents, and all these will need an interior designer, right? The room we're in right now is designed by somebody.
That was me.
And that was you. There we go. Right? So, and you can take that degree and either go work in the US, open your own company in Canada, or come here and help develop India. Right?
Oh, wow.
Opportunities are absolutely there.
So I want to go back to my last question again. Let's say if I want to study interior designing, what are my steps to secure a spot at Yorkville? What is the eligibility criteria like, and what are some of the things that you think I should be doing?
Absolutely. So number one is that you have to have a passion, right? If this is something you're interested in, everything else kind of falls into place. But of course, from an academic perspective, we're looking for the fact that you have graduated high school, right? Or if you are currently learning about interior design here in India, we can definitely see if there are transfer facilities available.
Okay.
Right? From IELTS or language requirement, we're looking at IELTS of 6.0 with nothing under 6, and PTE of 60. Right? And one thing I really want to stress on is language. As you know, language is not only a tool, but it's a way to communicate and for you to feel confident. If you cannot communicate with your faculty, with your professors, with your classmates, you cannot be successful academically. And you won't be successful professionally. So definitely language and things like PTE and IELTS is extremely important. And of course, from a study permit perspective, you need financial documents to round off the whole application and to have a successful study permit application.
Oh, wow. So, okay, another question that students, I'd like to think it's one of the first questions that students may have is the cost involved. So the numbers I recall is an average Indian student that goes to study abroad spends about 45,000 US dollars across their study abroad journey.
Correct.
Of which 2,500 is their foreign going competitive exams fees, that's your IELTS and TOEFL and all of that. Consulting and air ticket is all included in that 2,500 bucks. Then you have 27,500, which is tuition, 9,500, which is the housing, and 6,500, which is the household. Now, if students, first question for them is going to be cost. How do I make it less expensive? So first question is what are the tuition fees for, or this rather 27,500. I'm assuming it's going to be less for Canada, but what are the fees for students? And then followed by how can they reduce these fees?
I'm assuming that figure is per year. Or per
No,
program.
that's a total of, I think average students goes for a 2.5 year study abroad journey. I think maybe closer to 2 years.
So I think one thing that we have to educate our students is, of course, in Canada, you have the opportunity to study either in a diploma or degree.
True.
Right? Degree, generally speaking, is longer.
It's expensive.
And
as
a
well.
little bit more expensive as well.
Yes.
Right? So from a tuition perspective, our programs at Yorkville, we try to make it as affordable to students as possible. So for our example, our interior design program, it is with our entrance scholarship is at $58,000 for the whole program.
Okay. Okay.
Right? For those of students who meet our merit requirements, our academic requirements, there are additional $10,000 scholarships for our students.
Sorry, that's Canadian dollars.
Correct. So we're looking at from 58,000 or so Canadian down to 48 or so Canadian.
Okay.
Right, for the whole program. When you divide that program by, because students can fast track in 2.5 years, we'll take 2.5 for example, right? 48 divided by 2.5 is very much manageable from a tuition perspective.
Right.
For international students coming to Canada, they have the eligibility to work part-time, 24 hours a week. Right? So one of the ways they can support themselves financially, besides the GIC guarantee, is that they can work part-time. On summer breaks or any breaks, they are eligible to work full-time as well. So not only are they able to help themselves financially, they're able to have the experience and knowledge so that when they do graduate, they can enter the workforce that much quicker and smoother.
And what about housing? So how do you think students coming in can sort of save cost on housing?
Yeah, so great question, right? Housing, when I talk to students, 2 questions. How deep is your wallet and what lifestyle do you have, right? Comparatively, when you're looking at Toronto and Vancouver, they are the metropolitan cities in Canada. So yes, they are a little bit more expensive than other cities. But when you compare Toronto and Vancouver to New York and Los Angeles,
Much
when you
cheaper.
compare them to UK, right? London, Madrid, Sydney, right? It's much more affordable,
True.
right? When we're talking about individuals, right? What is their lifestyle, right? If they're okay with sharing rooms, if they're okay with living a little bit further than campus, of course, that will drive the price down. But if you're somebody who want to live downtown Toronto, single penthouse, of course, that's going to cost you a little bit more. So at the end of the day, accommodation is there in Canada.
True.
It depends on the person's wallet and lifestyle.
Are there some popular traditions among students at the campuses?
Yeah, I mean, for our Indian students especially, right, there are many festivals here in Canada and in India that we try to replicate in Canada. So Diwali, for example, that's a huge
wow.
one. Yeah, that's a lot of these initiatives are not only student-led, but we work with our students to make sure that they have not only a safe environment, but an enjoyable environment, so that not only do they feel that they are at home, they can celebrate like that, they're at home, but they also have support.
And I think you already talked about international student support. So what role does that play? And then if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. A lot of our students think leaving India is the hard part. But on the contrary, right, with amazing partners like yourself, leaving India is the easy part.
True.
Right.
And for the students, we try and make it as easy as possible.
Exactly. But when they step onto that foreign soil, whether it's Canada, UK, Australia, anywhere around the world, that's where their journey begins. And we understand as an international student, they might feel homesick, they might feel lonely, they might feel isolated, and our support system makes sure that they can integrate to not only our school community, but also the local community as seamlessly as possible. As I mentioned, we have student support for their academics, we have peer tutoring, we have career counselors, we have immigration advisors, and we have regular counselors who can help them answer questions about Canada or just life in general. Right? We have student associations, we have clubs, we have events, orientation week, things like that to help students adjust quickly into our local community and be able to be supported with our local community. But one thing I do have to mention to our international students is that we offer amazing services no matter where you go, coast to coast, but it's still up to them to take that first step.
So with so much support in place, I'm assuming there would be a lot of successful career outcomes amongst your alumni. If you could maybe, run us through some stories, maybe perhaps your favorite story of some international student doing well after their graduation from Yorkville.
Absolutely. Student success is on the number 1 for our priority list. Not only do we want students to come to Yorkville, we want to see them be successful and walk across that stage with their degree. And of course, get into the career that they want to. So for me personally, I actually have team members that work with me that went to Yorkville. So for me, it's a full circle story, right? They went to Yorkville, they studied with us, they were successful in graduation and also staying and working in my department, International Recruitment. And they're able to help the future generations, not only in India, but around the globe, to come and study in Canada and specifically at Yorkville.
Oh, wow. And so another question I have is, how strong is Yorkville's alumni network? How do you still stay in touch with your alum?
Yeah, of course. So we have our alumni director, right? We have our alumni connection, but we are also a young university.
True,
right?
True.
So we are always expanding our alumni network here in India and around the globe. And we always try to connect with alumni because they're the best ambassadors for us. So we try to get them involved in our events, local events and international events. And we always love hearing about their success story, whether it's on social media or in person.
With a relatively short history that Yorkville has, what is the future, what is the vision like for the, let's say, next decade or so?
Yeah, great question. I think our core values will always stay the same. Be able to educate international students at an affordable tuition, but with world-class education in programs that are in demand for the industry. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I can see that we will offer more programs, more opportunities, and more choices for our international students, as well as domestic students. We will make sure that our programs are in demand in the industry. That's not only be good for the students, but for the good of a Canadian economy at the same time.
And how do you think, so another thing I think something we missed is Yorkville has the top 10 online, Yorkville is a top 10 online university in Canada. So with, let's say, whatever fast tech changes that are happening right now, how do you think the program delivery is going to change for both online and for on-campus education?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's more of going to be a more hybrid approach for a lot of the programs. That way we can reach more audience. For our online programs right now, it gives the flexibility for our students. And most of the students could be working a full-time job or they have other responsibilities. The online programs allow them to study at their own pace and whenever they are free. So for students who are night owls, for example, they might study at night.
That was me.
And that's you. For those who are early risers, they might want to study in the morning. So just more opportunities and more options for students to pursue their academic career.
So with so much intel that you've given, I'm assuming a lot of students would want to come to Yorkville. Let's say if somebody is interested in coming to Yorkville, what is one piece of advice you would have for them?
For any students coming to Canada, coming to Yorkville, be prepared. Come to talk to our partners like yourself, get the right information, make the right choice, but also keep an open mind. As you are coming to a new country, there are culture shock, there are things that you're unsure about, but just be sure that as we talked about it, first thing in this interview, Canadians are extremely nice and we're extremely helpful. So don't be shy to ask for help, and we're here for your success.
Well, I think we've covered a lot. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you for having me.
Joining us, and you've inspired me to come and study at Yorkville.
You're always welcome.
So before we conclude, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, of course. So for all of our audience here in India or wherever you're watching, Canada is always going to have open arms for international students. We are built on diversity, and that is our core value. We welcome you no matter where you're from, no matter what background you're from. If you are willing to settle, be successful in Canada, we welcome you. If you think that Canada is not your final destination, that is okay. Because for students here in India, not only will you be great ambassadors for India, but you will also be great ambassadors for Canada. And that's all we can hope for. We hope to see you at Yorkville. We hope to see you in Canada. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.